Family is meant to be our safe haven, our rock in times of turmoil. But what happens when cracks appear in those very foundations? Today we delve into a compelling story of two sisters, Emily and Claire, whose once close bond fractures under the weight of jealousy, resentment, and unresolved expectations. Have you ever felt the sting of betrayal within your own family? The ache of unmet expectations or the heartbreak of growing apart from those you once held closest? Join us as we explore their journey of healing, forgiveness, and the quest to rebuild shattered family ties. With themes of sibling rivalry, parental favoritism, and the struggle for individual identity, this story will resonate with anyone navigating complex family dynamics. Stay tuned as we unravel the layers of their journey and discover how they move from pain towards hope and reconciliation. Emily was always a planner. At 28, she had her career on track, a stable relationship with Adam, and a clear vision for her future. But there was one thing that consistently threw off her balance: her older sister Sarah. Sarah, at 31, still hadn't quite figured things out. She floated from one job to another, always with some grand scheme that never quite panned out. Emily often found herself wondering how their parents continued to treat Sarah like the golden child, despite her lack of direction. One evening over dinner at their parents' house, tension simmered beneath the surface as Emily tried to share news of her recent promotion. "I'm really excited about this new role," Emily said, trying to keep the conversation light. Sarah, flipping through her phone without much interest, muttered, "That's nice, Em." Emily's jaw tightened slightly. "I've been working towards this for months. It's a big deal for me." Sarah looked up briefly, her tone indifferent. Sure. You're always making strides, aren't you?" Their parents, sitting across from them, exchanged uneasy glances. It wasn't the first time Emily had felt like her achievements were glossed over, while Sarah's lack of progress was overlooked. "I wish you'd show a little more interest sometimes," Emily pressed, trying to keep her frustration in check. Sarah scoffed, setting her phone down. "What, you want me to throw a party every time you get a promotion?" Newsflash, not everyone needs constant validation. Their mother jumped in, attempting to defuse the situation. "Let's not argue, girls. Emily, we're proud of you, sweetheart." Emily forced a smile, but inside the resentment simmered. It wasn't just about validation. It was about feeling acknowledged for her hard work, something Sarah never seemed to grasp. As the evening wore on, Emily excused herself early, citing an early meeting the next day. Alone in her car, she let out a frustrated sigh. Why did Sarah always have to belittle her achievements? And why did their parents always seem to let it slide? The drive home was filled with thoughts of their childhood, where Sarah's competitive streak had started early and only intensified over the years. Emily recalled the countless times Sarah had copied her, from hobbies to clothing choices to even her choice of friends. It was as if Sarah couldn't stand the thought of Emily having something unique to herself. Arriving home, Emily found solace in Adam's embrace. He listened patiently as she vented about the evening, his reassuring presence a stark contrast to the constant comparison she felt from Sarah. "I just wish she'd see me as more than her competition," Emily sighed, sinking into Adam's arms. Adam pressed a kiss to her forehead. "You're so much more than that, Em. And you've got me in your corner always." Emily nodded, grateful for Adam's unwavering support. But deep down, she knew the battle with Sarah's shadow wasn't over. As long as their parents continued to enable Sarah's behavior, the rivalry would persist, threatening to overshadow Emily's accomplishments at every turn. Emily and Sarah's sibling rivalry had roots that stretched back to their childhood, when innocent sibling squabbles morphed into a competition for attention and validation. It was a brisk autumn afternoon when their rivalry took a defining turn. Emily had just joined the school's chess club, excited to explore her newfound interest in strategic thinking. Sarah, always attuned to Emily's activities, observed quietly from the sidelines. "Chess, huh?" Sarah remarked casually, leaning against the doorframe of Emily's room. "That seems interesting." Emily glanced up from her chessboard, sensing Sarah's usual interest in anything she pursued. "Yeah, it's pretty cool. Want to learn how to play?" Sarah shrugged nonchalantly. "Maybe, but isn't it a bit nerdy?" Emily frowned, feeling defensive of her newfound hobby. "It's not nerdy. It's about strategy and focus." Sarah smirked, a flicker of amusement in her eyes. "If you say so. Seems like a lot of thinking for just moving pieces around." Emily sighed inwardly, recognizing Sarah's typical teasing tone. "Well, I like it." From that day on, Sarah's interest in chess grew surprisingly fast. She started attending chess club meetings with Emily, quickly picking up the game's nuances. Soon, she was competing in local tournaments, often right alongside Emily. During one tournament, Emily found herself facing off against Sarah in the final round. The tension between them was palpable as they sat across the chessboard, pieces poised for battle. You know, I've been practicing, Sarah said casually, scanning the board with a competitive gleam in her eye. Emily studied Sarah's moves carefully, trying to block out her sister's attempts to rattle her. Good for you, Sarah. Let's see what you've got. The game was intense, each sister strategizing to outwit the other. Emily could feel the weight of their rivalry bearing down on her, pushing her to excel. But Sarah was relentless, making calculated moves that forced Emily into a corner. In the end, Sarah checkmated Emily, a triumphant smile spreading across her face. Looks like I've got the upper hand this time, Em. Emily forced a smile, masking her disappointment. Yeah, you played well. As they packed up their chess pieces, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah's sudden interest in chess wasn't just about the game. It was about proving she could be just as good as Emily, if not better. Their parents, always eager to support their daughter's endeavors, applauded Sarah's victory enthusiastically. Emily felt a pang of resentment, wondering if they would have been just as proud if she had won. Later that evening, Emily confided in Adam about the tournament and her conflicting emotions. I'm happy for Sarah, I guess. But it's like she always has to one-up me in everything. Adam listened, his expression sympathetic. It sounds frustrating, Em. But maybe Sarah just wants to share in your interests. Emily shook her head, frustration bubbling to the surface. It's more than that. It's like she can't stand the idea of me having something just for myself. Adam wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Sibling rivalry can be tough. But remember, you're your own person, with or without Sarah's competition. Emily nodded, grateful for Adam's perspective. But deep down, she knew that as long as Sarah continued to mirror her every move, their sibling rivalry would persist, casting a shadow over their relationship and Emily's pursuit of her own identity. Parental favoritism began to cast a long shadow over Emily and Sarah's relationship as they grew older, subtly influencing their interactions and aspirations. One evening at dinner, the topic of upcoming school projects came up. Emily had been excitedly preparing for a science fair presentation on renewable energy sources, hoping to impress her science teacher and earn recognition for her innovative approach. Sarah, who had been more focused on artistic endeavors lately, shared her plans to create a series of intricate paintings for the school art exhibit. I've been working really hard on these, Sarah mentioned casually, setting her fork down and looking expectantly at their parents. Their father nodded approvingly. That sounds great, Sarah. I'm sure your paintings will be amazing. Emily tried to hide her disappointment behind a forced smile. Thanks, Dad. Their mother chimed in, her attention shifting to Emily. And how's your science project coming along, Emily? Emily brightened, eager to share her progress. It's going well. I've been researching different types of solar panels and their efficiency rates. I think my project will really stand out. Their mother nodded, her expression vaguely interested. That's nice, dear. Just make sure to finish it on time. As the dinner conversation continued, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that her parents' enthusiasm for Sarah's art project outweighed their interest in her science fair entry. Sarah, on the other hand, seemed oblivious to the undercurrents of favoritism, basking in the validation of her creative pursuits. Later that evening, Emily vented her frustrations to Adam, who listened attentively as she poured out her feelings. It's like no matter how hard I try, they always seem more impressed with what Sarah does, Emily lamented, her voice tinged with bitterness. Adam sighed sympathetically. I get it, Em. It must be tough feeling like you're constantly competing for their attention. Emily nodded, her frustration simmering beneath the surface. I just wish they'd see that I'm capable of more than just academic achievements. I want them to be proud of me for who I am, not just what I accomplish. Adam squeezed her hand reassuringly. You're more than your achievements, Emily. Don't Lou. The following week, tensions came to a head when Emily and Sarah's school events coincided. Emily's science fair presentation was scheduled for the same evening as Sarah's art exhibit opening. Their parents faced a dilemma, torn between attending both events and showing support equally. I think we should split up, their mother suggested tentatively, eyeing both girls with concern. Sarah glanced at Emily, a hint of guilt flickering in her eyes. I mean, it's okay if you can't make it to mine. Emily's been working really hard on her project. Emily felt a surge of unexpected gratitude towards Sarah, appreciating her sister's rare display of empathy. It's fine, really. I know you put a lot of effort into your art. Mom and Dad should go to your exhibit. Their father nodded in agreement. Sarah's right. We'll make it up to you, Emily. Maybe we can do something special together tomorrow. Despite their parents' efforts to balance their support, Emily couldn't shake the lingering sense of parental favoritism that had colored their upbringing. It was a subtle yet persistent reminder that sometimes, despite their best efforts, their parents' attention seemed to tilt in Sarah's favor, leaving Emily to navigate her achievements and aspirations with a mixture of determination and quiet resilience. As Emily progressed through high school, she noticed a troubling pattern emerging. Sarah seemed to be copying many aspects of her life, from extracurricular activities to personal interests. It all came to a head one afternoon when Emily returned home from a rigorous debate club practice, where she had been preparing for an upcoming competition. She found Sarah in her room, surrounded by stacks of books on debate tactics and notes scattered across her desk. Emily paused in the doorway, her eyebrows furrowing in confusion. "Sarah, what are you doing with all my debate stuff?" Sarah looked up, her expression sheepish. "Oh, I was just curious about what you do in debate club. It seems interesting." Emily sighed, setting her bag down. "It is interesting, but it's also something I've been working hard on for years. You can't just take my stuff and expect to understand it." Their mother, passing by the doorway, overheard their conversation and paused, concern etched on her face. "What's going on, girls?" Emily hesitated, trying to find the right words. "Sarah's been going through my debate materials. I don't mind her being curious, but it feels like she's trying to copy everything I do." Sarah's face fell, hurt evident in her eyes. "I wasn't trying to copy you, Emily. I just thought it would be fun to see what you do." Their mother stepped into the room, her brow furrowed. "Sarah, it's important to respect Emily's boundaries and interests. You have your own talents and hobbies." Sarah nodded, her shoulders slumping. "I'm sorry, Emily. I didn't mean to upset you." Emily softened, realizing her frustration might have come off too harshly. "It's okay, Sarah. Just ask next time if you want to know more about something I do." Their mother interjected gently. "Maybe this is a good opportunity for both of you to explore your own passions. Emily, you can show Sarah what debate club is about without feeling like she's taking over your space. And Sarah, you can find something that really excites you." Despite their mother's attempt to mediate, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of irritation and intrusion. Over the following weeks, Sarah's habit of imitating Emily extended beyond debate club. She started joining clubs and activities that Emily was involved in, from volunteering at the animal shelter to taking up photography. One evening at dinner, the tension finally bubbled over when their father asked about their plans for the upcoming school year. "So, any new clubs or activities you're interested in?" he asked, looking between Emily and Sarah. Emily hesitated, exchanging a glance with Sarah before speaking up. "I've been thinking about joining the environmental club. They do a lot of cool projects around recycling and conservation." Sarah perked up immediately. "That sounds awesome. I was thinking the same thing." Emily frowned, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "Sarah, you can't just decide to join because I'm interested. Find something that's meaningful to you." Their father interjected calmly, sensing the tension in the room. "Maybe it's a good idea for each of you to explore different clubs this year. You might discover new interests that you didn't know you had." Sarah nodded reluctantly, sensing Emily's annoyance. "Okay. Maybe I'll look into something else." Emily sighed, grateful for her father's intervention but still feeling overwhelmed by Sarah's constant mirroring of her interests. "I just want to feel like I have something that's mine. You know?" Their mother reached across the table, placing a hand on Emily's arm. "You do, Emily. Your passions and talents are uniquely yours. Sarah will find her own path, too." As the evening wore on, Emily couldn't shake the lingering discomfort of Sarah's mimicry. It was a reminder that while they were sisters with shared experiences, they were also individuals striving to carve out their own identities amidst the complexities of family dynamics and sibling relationships. High school was a whirlwind of academic pressures and social dynamics for Emily and Sarah. While Emily excelled in her classes, often immersing herself in books and studying late into the night, Sarah struggled to find her footing academically. One evening, Emily sat at her desk, poring over her biology textbook while Sarah sprawled on her bed, flipping through social media on her phone. Emily glanced over at Sarah, concern furrowing her brow. "Sarah, have you started studying for the biology test next week?" Sarah shrugged nonchalantly. "Not yet. I'll probably start tomorrow or something." Emily sighed, pushing her glasses up on her nose. "You can't keep putting it off, Sarah. This test is worth a big part of our grade." Sarah rolled her eyes, a hint of annoyance in her voice. "Geez, Emily, you don't have to remind me every 5 minutes. I'll get to it, okay?" Their mother, passing by the doorway, overheard their conversation and stepped into the room. "Is everything okay, girls?" Emily glanced up from her textbook, frustration evident in her voice. "Mom, Sarah hasn't started studying for the biology test yet. It's next week." Their mother turned to Sarah, her expression gentle but firm. Sarah, your grades are important. You need to start preparing earlier. Sarah huffed, crossing her arms defensively. I know, Mom. I'll do it. Their mother sighed softly, her concern palpable. I just want you to do your best, sweetheart. As the days passed, Emily continued to immerse herself in her studies, determined to maintain her high grades. Sarah, on the other hand, struggled with procrastination and distractions, often finding herself drawn to socializing and extracurricular activities, rather than focusing on her schoolwork. One afternoon after school, Emily found Sarah in the kitchen, staring forlornly at her laptop screen. What's wrong, Sarah? Sarah sighed heavily, closing her laptop with a frustrated gesture. I can't believe I got a C on that math test. Everyone's going to think I'm dumb. Emily pulled out a chair, sitting across from Sarah with a sympathetic expression. Hey, it's okay. We all have rough patches. Maybe you should ask Mr. Johnson for extra help. Sarah shrugged, picking at a loose thread on her sweater. I guess. It's just hard when everyone expects me to be as smart as you. Emily frowned, reaching out to gently touch Sarah's hand. Sarah, you don't have to be like me. You have your own strengths. Maybe you should focus on what you're good at instead of trying to match my grades. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of their father entering the kitchen, a warm smile on his face. Hey girls. How was school today? Emily glanced at Sarah, silently urging her to speak up. Sarah shrugged, avoiding their father's gaze. It was okay, I guess. Their father raised an eyebrow, his voice gentle but probing. Sarah, is something bothering you? Sarah sighed, her shoulders slumping. I got a C on my math test. I'm just really frustrated. Their father pulled out a chair, sitting down beside Sarah with a reassuring pat on her shoulder. It's okay to struggle sometimes, Sarah. What matters is how you bounce back from it. Emily nodded in agreement, offering Sarah a supportive smile. Dad's right. Maybe we can study together for the next test. I'll help you with the parts you find difficult. Sarah looked up, a glimmer of gratitude in her eyes. Thanks, Emily. I'd like that. Their father nodded approvingly, his voice filled with encouragement. That's the spirit, girls. You're there for each other no matter what. As they sat together in the kitchen, the weight of academic pressures and social challenges felt a little lighter, knowing they had each other's support in navigating the complexities of high school life. Financial disparity became increasingly apparent in the lives of Emily and Sarah as they grew older. Their father, Mr. Anderson, worked diligently as a middle manager in a local company, ensuring they had a comfortable home and necessities. However, their mother, Mrs. Anderson, had to stay home due to health issues, which strained their family budget. One evening, as they gathered around the dinner table, the topic of college expenses surfaced. Emily, engrossed in researching scholarships and financial aid options on her laptop, glanced up with concern etched on her face. Mom, Dad, have you looked into how much college tuition will cost? Mr. Anderson sighed heavily, his brow furrowing. I've been trying to figure it out, Emily. It's not going to be easy, especially with everything else we have to manage. Sarah, who had been silently eating her dinner, suddenly looked up with a worried expression. Do you think we can afford it? College seems so expensive. Mrs. Anderson reached out, placing a comforting hand on Sarah's shoulder. We'll figure something out, sweetie. There are loans and scholarships available. We just need to be proactive about it. Emily nodded thoughtfully, her mind racing with calculations and possibilities. I'm going to apply for as many scholarships as I can. Maybe I can get some financial aid. Mr. Anderson nodded in agreement, his voice tinged with concern. That's a good idea, Emily. We'll support you however we can. As the months passed, Emily diligently applied for scholarships and researched affordable college options, determined to lessen the financial burden on her parents. Meanwhile, Sarah, who had always been more interested in social activities and less in academics, struggled to grasp the gravity of their financial situation. One afternoon, Emily found Sarah sitting on the porch, staring pensively into the distance. Hey Sarah, what's on your mind? Sarah sighed heavily, her shoulders slumping. I don't know, Emily. College just seems so far away and so expensive. I'm not even sure what I want to do after high school. Emily sat down beside Sarah, her voice gentle but firm. You should start thinking about it, Sarah. It's important to plan ahead, especially with our financial situation. Sarah nodded slowly, a hint of frustration in her voice. I know, but it's overwhelming. You're always so focused on scholarships and grades. I just want to enjoy high school without stressing about the future. Emily frowned, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. I get it, Sarah, but we can't ignore reality. College costs money and we need to be prepared. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of their father coming home from work. Mr. Anderson greeted them with a tired smile, his voice filled with concern. "Hey girls. How was your day?" Emily glanced at Sarah, silently urging her to speak up. Sarah shrugged, her expression troubled. "It was okay, I guess." Mr. Anderson furrowed his brow, sensing something was amiss. "Sarah, is everything all right?" Sarah sighed heavily, her frustration bubbling to the surface. "I'm just worried about college, Dad. It's so expensive, and I don't even know if I'll be able to afford it." Mr. Anderson sat down beside Sarah, placing a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "We'll figure it out, Sarah. Your mom and I are working on a plan." Emily nodded in agreement, her voice filled with determination. "And I'm applying for scholarships, Dad. I'll do everything I can to help." Their mother joined them on the porch, her expression sympathetic. "We're a team, remember? We'll support each other through this." As they sat together on the porch, the reality of their financial situation hung heavy in the air. Despite their differences in approach and priorities, Emily and Sarah knew they had to confront the challenges ahead as a family, navigating the complexities of financial disparity with unity and determination. College beginnings marked a significant transition for Emily and Sarah, each navigating their own paths amidst new challenges and opportunities. Emily, having secured several scholarships and financial aid packages, enrolled in a prestigious university across the state. The excitement of independence and academic pursuit filled her with both eagerness and apprehension. On the other hand, Sarah opted for a local community college, uncertain about her career path and wary of accumulating significant student debt. As they packed their belongings into the family car, preparing for the journey ahead, tensions simmered beneath the surface. Emily meticulously organized her textbooks and notebooks, her mind already racing with plans for joining clubs and pursuing internships. "I can't believe we're finally here," she remarked, glancing at her parents with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Mr. Anderson smiled proudly, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "Time flies, doesn't it? You're going to do great, Emily. We're so proud of you." Mrs. Anderson hugged Emily tightly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. "Just remember to call us often, okay? And take care of yourself." Sarah, seated beside them, remained quiet, her expression thoughtful. "I guess it's my turn next," she mused, more to herself than to anyone else. Emily turned to Sarah, her voice filled with encouragement. "You'll do amazing, Sarah. Community college is a great start. You can figure out what you want to do without the pressure of huge loans." Sarah nodded slowly, a hint of uncertainty in her eyes. "I hope so. It's just different, you know." Their departure was bittersweet, leaving an empty spot at the family dinner table that evening. Sarah retreated to her room, unpacking her belongings with a sense of unease gnawing at her. She knew her parents supported her decision, yet the weight of comparison to Emily's achievements loomed large. Meanwhile, Emily found herself swept into a whirlwind of orientation events and new friendships. On her first day of classes, she felt a surge of exhilaration mixed with nervousness. As she navigated through the bustling campus, Emily couldn't help but think of Sarah and wonder how she was adjusting to her own college experience. During one of their weekly video calls, Sarah's voice carried a hint of weariness. "It's okay here, I guess. Just trying to figure out my classes and all." Emily listened intently, sensing her sister's struggle. "Are you joining any clubs or activities? It might help you settle in." Sarah sighed, her tone subdued. "I haven't really thought about it. It's not like I have a bunch of scholarships to maintain." Emily winced, realizing her unintentional insensitivity. "I didn't mean it like that, Sarah. I just want you to enjoy college too, in your own way." Their conversation drifted to lighter topics, but an underlying tension lingered. Emily juggled her demanding coursework and extracurricular commitments, while Sarah navigated her classes with a growing sense of uncertainty about her future. As the semester progressed, Emily's achievements in academics and campus involvement garnered praise from their parents during their weekly calls. Sarah, while supportive of Emily's accomplishments, couldn't shake off the feeling of being overshadowed. During a rare weekend home, tensions between the sisters surfaced during a family dinner. Emily excitedly shared stories of her latest achievements, while Sarah remained noticeably quiet, her fork tracing patterns on her plate. Mr. Anderson, sensing the unease, attempted to lighten the mood. "How's everything going at college, Sarah?" Sarah hesitated, her voice tinged with frustration. "It's fine. Just trying to figure things out." Emily, oblivious to her sister's discomfort, continued animatedly. "I joined the debate club and got an internship opportunity with a local firm. It's so exciting." Sarah glanced at Emily, a mixture of admiration and envy flickering in her eyes. That's great, Em. Really? Their mother intervened gently, sensing the tension in the air. Sarah, everyone has their own pace. College is about exploring your interests and finding your path. Emily nodded in agreement, her voice softening. She's right, Sarah. You don't have to rush. Just take it one step at a time. The remainder of the dinner passed in strained silence, each member of the family lost in their own thoughts. As they bid goodbye to Emily, returning to her dorm with a mixture of pride and concern for Sarah, the realization dawned that their college experiences would unfold in distinct ways, each shaped by personal choices and circumstances. Emily's journey through college was marked by academic achievements and personal growth, while Sarah navigated a path of self-discovery and resilience. Despite their differences and occasional disagreements, the bond between the sisters remained steadfast, anchored by their shared aspirations and unwavering support from their family. Emily's first encounter with Adam was unexpected yet unforgettable. It happened during a casual gathering organized by one of the campus clubs she had joined. The room buzzed with chatter and laughter as students mingled, savoring the freedom and camaraderie of college life. Adam stood out from the crowd with his easy smile and laid-back demeanor. Tall and athletic, he exuded confidence without arrogance, making him a magnet for attention. Emily couldn't help but notice him across the room, engaged in a lively discussion with a group of friends. Curiosity piqued, Emily found herself drawn to Adam's magnetic presence. She approached the group, hoping to join the conversation without appearing too eager. "Mind if I join in?" she asked with a friendly smile. Adam turned towards her, his eyes meeting hers with genuine interest. "Not at all. We were just debating the merits of classic literature versus contemporary fiction." Emily chuckled, intrigued by his choice of topic. "I'm Emily, by the way." "Adam," he replied, offering his hand in greeting. "Nice to meet you, Emily. What's your take on the debate?" They quickly found common ground in their shared love for literature, trading book recommendations and spirited arguments. Emily was captivated by Adam's intellect and wit, drawn to his ability to engage in meaningful conversations effortlessly. As the evening progressed, Adam and Emily continued to chat, discovering mutual interests beyond books. They exchanged stories about their hometowns, aspirations, and even shared a few humorous anecdotes about their college experiences so far. Meanwhile, Sarah was navigating her own social circle at community college, finding comfort in familiar faces from high school and slowly branching out to new acquaintances. She listened attentively to Emily's tales of college life, supportive yet feeling a pang of longing for such interactions in her own environment. One evening, over a video call with Emily, Sarah couldn't help but ask, "So, tell me more about this Adam guy. Is he as amazing as you make him sound?" Emily blushed, her voice betraying a hint of excitement. "He's really great, Sarah. Smart, funny, and we have so much in common." Sarah nodded, genuinely happy for her sister yet feeling a twinge of envy. "I'm glad you found someone you connect with. Must be nice." Emily frowned slightly, sensing Sarah's subdued tone. "Hey, you'll find someone too, Sarah. You just need to give it time." Their conversation drifted to lighter topics, but Sarah couldn't shake off the feeling of being left behind while Emily's life seemed to be flourishing in every aspect. Back on campus, Emily and Adam's friendship blossomed into something deeper. They spent hours together studying in the library, exploring local cafes, and attending campus events hand in hand. Emily found herself falling for Adam's charm and sincerity, marveling at how effortlessly he made her laugh and feel understood. One weekend, Adam invited Emily to join him for a hike in the nearby mountains. They trekked through winding trails, surrounded by breathtaking scenery, and shared moments of quiet admiration for nature's beauty. At the summit, overlooking a panoramic vista of rolling hills and distant lakes, Adam turned to Emily with a gentle smile. "This view is incredible," Emily remarked, her heart fluttering with a mix of awe and nervous anticipation. Adam took a deep breath, his gaze warm and earnest. "Emily, there's something I've been meaning to tell you." Before he could finish, Emily's phone buzzed with a message notification. She glanced at the screen, a mixture of surprise and concern flickering across her face. "Sorry, Adam," she apologized, checking the message quickly. "It's from Sarah. I should see what she needs." Adam's smile faded slightly, though he nodded understandingly. "Of course. Family comes first." Emily excused herself, stepping away to call Sarah back. As she listened to Sarah's voice on the other end of the line, Emily couldn't help but feel torn between her growing feelings for Adam and her sister's need for support. "I'm okay, Em," Sarah assured her, though Emily sensed an undercurrent of loneliness in her sister's tone. "Just wanted to hear your voice." Emily's heart ached with a mix of guilt and empathy. "I miss you, Sarah. I'll be home soon, okay? They exchanged a few more words before Emily returned to Adam, her mind swirling with conflicting emotions. Adam greeted her with a reassuring smile, sensing her unease. Everything all right? He asked gently, his concern evident. Emily nodded, forcing a smile. Yeah, just some family stuff. Sorry about that. Adam reached out to gently squeeze her hand. No need to apologize. I'm here whenever you need to talk. Despite the distraction, Emily's feelings for Adam continued to grow, their bond deepening with each passing day. She cherished their moments together, grateful for his unwavering support and understanding. As Emily and Adam navigated the complexities of their budding relationship, Sarah focused on her studies and personal growth at community college. She remained supportive of Emily's happiness while quietly yearning for her own sense of fulfillment and companionship. The sisters' paths diverged yet remained intertwined by their unbreakable bond and shared journey of self-discovery in the midst of new beginnings and relationships. The annual family gathering at the Johnsons' lake house was always a lively affair. It was midsummer, and the sun painted the sky in hues of orange and pink as relatives from near and far gathered for a weekend of laughter, stories, and shared memories. Emily and Sarah arrived together, their car filled with snacks and a sense of anticipation. As they pulled up to the lake house, Sarah couldn't help but marvel at the picturesque setting. Wow, this place is amazing. How come we don't visit more often? Emily chuckled, guiding her sister towards the front door. I know, right? Dad always says it's too much trouble, but I love it here. It's so peaceful. Inside, the lake house buzzed with activity. Relatives greeted each other warmly, catching up on news and exchanging hugs. Emily and Sarah navigated through the crowd, exchanging smiles and hellos with familiar faces. Dad! Emily called out as she spotted their father across the room, engrossed in conversation with Uncle Tom. Her father turned, his face lighting up at the sight of his daughters. Emily, Sarah. So glad you could make it. He hugged them both tightly, the warmth of family love palpable in the air. You remember Uncle Tom, right? He said, gesturing towards the elderly man beside him. Uncle Tom chuckled, extending a hand to Sarah. Of course I remember these two troublemakers. You've grown into lovely young ladies. Sarah blushed, exchanging pleasantries with Uncle Tom while Emily caught up with her dad about college life and recent adventures. Nearby, cousins played board games and chased each other around the living room, filling the air with laughter. As the evening progressed, dinner was served on the spacious deck overlooking the tranquil lake. Plates filled with grilled food and salads were passed around, accompanied by lively conversations and occasional bursts of laughter. Emily found herself seated between her father and Aunt Lisa, catching up on Aunt Lisa's latest travel escapades. You should visit Greece sometime, Emily. The beaches are just breathtaking, Aunt Lisa exclaimed animatedly. Sarah, on the other hand, found herself at a table with younger cousins, engaging in a spirited debate about their favorite video games. She laughed along with their jokes and shared in their excitement, feeling a sense of belonging among the younger generation. However, as the evening wore on, tensions began to simmer beneath the surface. Old rivalries and unresolved disputes between certain family members occasionally surfaced, casting a shadow over the otherwise festive atmosphere. At one point, Emily overheard a hushed argument between her dad and Uncle Tom about a business deal gone sour. I told you, Tom, it was a risky investment, their dad said in a stern voice, his frustration evident. Uncle Tom shook his head, his tone defensive. I thought it was a sure thing, Stan. How was I supposed to know? Emily exchanged a concerned glance with Sarah, sensing the tension between their father and uncle. She hoped it wouldn't escalate further, knowing how stubborn both men could be. Meanwhile, Sarah found herself inadvertently caught in a dispute between two cousins over a trivial matter. You always think you're right, Danny. It's annoying, one cousin exclaimed, folding her arms across her chest. Danny retorted, his voice rising slightly. Well, maybe if you listen for once we wouldn't be arguing. Sarah tried to diffuse the situation, offering a neutral perspective and suggesting they agree to disagree. Yet, the tension lingered, dampening the jovial mood temporarily. Despite these occasional conflicts, the Johnson family gathering continued into the night with games, music, and shared stories around a crackling bonfire by the lake. Emily and Sarah found themselves joining in a sing-along led by their uncle who played guitar, voices blending in harmony under the starlit sky. As the night drew to a close, Emily and Sarah reflected on the day's events during their drive back home. That was eventful, Sarah remarked with a wry smile. Emily chuckled, nodding in agreement. Family gatherings, right? Always a mix of everything. But I'm glad we came. It's good to see everyone, even with the drama. Sarah smiled softly, gazing out at the darkened road ahead. Yeah, it is. And hey, we survived another one. They shared a laugh, bonding over their shared experiences and the unique dynamics of their family. Through it all, they knew that despite the disagreements and occasional tension, their family gatherings were moments to cherish, weaving together the threads of their shared history and future. As the years passed, Emily and Sarah found themselves gradually drifting apart, their once inseparable bond strained by the demands of adulthood. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when they found themselves alone in Emily's apartment, catching up over coffee. Sarah sipped her latte, glancing around at the minimalist decor of Emily's living room. "So, how's work been?" she asked, trying to fill the awkward silence that had settled between them. Emily sighed, stirring her coffee absent-mindedly. "It's fine. Busy, you know. But it pays the bills." Sarah nodded, sensing the distance in Emily's tone. "And how's Adam? Are you guys still good?" Emily hesitated, setting her coffee cup down with a sigh. "Yeah, we're good. He's busy with his new job too." There was a pause, filled only by the distant hum of city traffic outside. Sarah bit her lip, searching for something more substantial to say. "Do you ever miss how things used to be? Back when we were kids, I mean." Emily looked up, meeting Sarah's gaze for the first time since she arrived. "Yeah, sometimes. Everything was simpler back then, wasn't it?" Sarah nodded, a small smile playing on her lips. "We were inseparable. Remember all those adventures we used to plan?" Emily chuckled softly, a hint of nostalgia in her eyes. "Yeah, like that time we tried to build a treehouse and ended up with a pile of wood in the backyard." Sarah laughed, the tension between them momentarily easing. "Or the summer we spent trying to catch fireflies every night." They reminisced about their childhood escapades, sharing stories that brought back a sense of warmth and familiarity. Yet, beneath the surface, they both felt the weight of unspoken words and unaddressed emotions. "But things change, don't they?" Emily said softly, breaking the nostalgic silence. "Life happens and we grow apart." Sarah nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Yeah, we have our own lives now with different priorities." The conversation drifted to safer topics. Movies, books, mutual friends, but the underlying tension remained. They both knew that their bond had shifted, irrevocably altered by the passage of time and the diverging paths they had chosen. As Sarah prepared to leave, Emily walked her to the door, an unspoken sadness between them. "Thanks for coming over," Emily said quietly, her voice tinged with regret. Sarah smiled warmly, hugging her sister tightly. "Anytime, Em. Just, let's not wait so long next time, okay?" Emily nodded, blinking back unexpected tears. "Yeah, definitely. I miss you, Sarah." They held each other for a moment longer, two sisters clinging to the remnants of a once unbreakable bond. Then, with a final goodbye, Sarah left, leaving Emily alone with her thoughts and the quiet emptiness of her apartment. As she closed the door behind her, Sarah took a deep breath, grappling with the bittersweet realization that sometimes, growing apart was an inevitable part of growing up. Emily sat nervously in the crowded conference room, fidgeting with the edge of her notebook as she waited for her turn to present. She glanced around at the familiar faces of her colleagues, feeling a mix of anticipation and anxiety. This was her moment to shine, to showcase the months of hard work and dedication. As she clicked through her slides, explaining the innovative marketing campaign she had spearheaded, Emily felt a surge of pride. The room was silent, all eyes on her as she navigated through the metrics and success stories. When she finished, there was polite applause and her boss, Mr. Thompson, stood up with a smile. "Excellent work, Emily," he said, his voice carrying across the room. "You've really raised the bar with this campaign. I'm impressed." Emily beamed, a weight lifting off her shoulders. This was the validation she had been seeking, recognition for her efforts and affirmation of her capabilities. Later that evening, Emily called Sarah, her voice bubbling with excitement. "Sarah, you won't believe it. Mr. Thompson loved my presentation. He even mentioned the possibility of a promotion." Sarah chuckled warmly on the other end of the line. "That's amazing, Em. I knew you could do it. You've been working so hard for this." Emily felt a swell of gratitude towards her sister. "Thanks, Sarah. It means a lot to hear you say that." There was a brief pause, and then Sarah's tone shifted slightly. "Hey, speaking of promotions, I have some news too." Emily listened attentively as Sarah shared her own career update, a recent promotion to senior editor at the publishing house where she worked. She couldn't help but feel a twinge of envy, even as she congratulated her sister wholeheartedly. "That's fantastic, Sarah. I'm so proud of you," Emily exclaimed, trying to push aside the pang of competitiveness that gnawed at her. Sarah chuckled again, a hint of teasing in her voice. "Looks like we're both climbing up the corporate ladder." "Who would have thought?" Emily laughed, the tension easing between them. Yeah, who would have thought indeed? Over the following weeks, Emily and Sarah continued to share updates about their respective careers, celebrating each other's successes while navigating occasional moments of jealousy and rivalry. They both understood the pressure to succeed in their chosen fields, but sometimes, the comparisons were inevitable. One evening, over dinner at Emily's apartment, the topic of career paths resurfaced unexpectedly. Emily poured wine into their glasses, trying to lighten the mood. So, any more big projects on your plate, Sarah? Sarah smiled, taking a sip of her wine. Always. I'm actually overseeing a new anthology series. It's challenging but exciting. Emily nodded, genuinely interested. That sounds amazing. You've always had a knack for storytelling. Sarah raised an eyebrow playfully. And you've always been the marketing genius. How's the new campaign coming along? Emily hesitated, her smile faltering slightly. It's going well. But you know how it is. Always a new challenge around the corner. Sarah sensed the shift in Emily's tone, reaching out to reassure her. Hey, you're doing great, Em. Don't let the pressure get to you. Emily nodded, grateful for Sarah's support. Thanks, Sarah. Sometimes I wonder if I'm on the right path. Sarah leaned forward, her expression serious. You are, Emily. You're talented and driven. Don't doubt yourself. They talked late into the night, sharing their fears and aspirations, reaffirming their bond as sisters despite the occasional professional rivalry. In the end, they both understood that their journeys were unique, shaped by their individual passions and ambitions. As Sarah left that evening, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that success wasn't just about climbing the corporate ladder, but about finding fulfillment in her work and maintaining a strong connection with her sister, who had always been her pillar of support. Emily and Sarah sat at the cozy cafe downtown, flipping through bridal magazines and jotting down notes on a list for Emily's upcoming wedding. Sarah pointed excitedly at a floral arrangement in one of the magazines. Emily, look at this. Isn't this bouquet stunning? It would be perfect for your wedding. Emily smiled warmly, but her brow furrowed slightly. It is beautiful, but I was thinking of something a bit more understated, maybe with more greenery. Sarah tilted her head, considering Emily's suggestion. Greenery could be nice, but won't it be too plain? You want something that stands out, right? Emily hesitated, feeling the first hint of tension. I don't want it to be too extravagant, Sarah. I want a more natural look. Sarah nodded slowly, her enthusiasm tempered by concern. Okay, I get that. Maybe we can find a middle ground. As they continued discussing floral arrangements, they moved on to other aspects of the wedding. Sarah eagerly shared ideas for the venue, the color scheme, and even the catering. I know this amazing caterer who does these incredible appetizers, Sarah enthused. They'll be a hit at your reception. Emily nodded appreciatively. That sounds great, Sarah. But I was thinking of going with a simpler menu, maybe focusing more on local produce. Sarah raised an eyebrow, a touch of surprise in her voice. Local produce? But won't that limit the options? You want your guests to enjoy the food, Emily. Emily sighed softly, feeling the weight of decision-making. I do, but I also want it to reflect our values. Sustainability is important to us. Their discussion turned into a gentle debate as they navigated differing visions for the wedding. Sarah, ever the creative and practical thinker, wanted to ensure every detail was memorable and elegant. Emily, on the other hand, aimed for a wedding that felt personal and aligned with her and her fiancé's beliefs. Weeks passed, and the wedding planning intensified. Emily found herself torn between Sarah's exuberant ideas and her own desire for simplicity and meaning. They met frequently to discuss invitations, decorations, and the ever-elusive question of the perfect dress. One evening, after a particularly long day of venue hunting, Emily sat across from Sarah in her living room, a stack of brochures scattered on the coffee table. I just don't know, Sarah, Emily admitted, her voice tinged with frustration. I feel like we're not on the same page with some of these decisions. Sarah nodded sympathetically, reaching out to take Emily's hand. I know it's stressful, Em, but we'll figure it out. This is your big day, and I want it to be everything you've dreamed of. Emily smiled weakly, touched by Sarah's sincerity. I appreciate that, Sarah. I just wish it were easier. Sarah squeezed her hand gently. We'll compromise, find solutions that work for both of us. It's all part of the process. They spent the rest of the evening sorting through their options, gradually finding common ground on many aspects of the wedding. Sarah learned to appreciate Emily's desire for simplicity and meaning, while Emily valued Sarah's creativity and attention to detail. As the wedding day drew nearer, they finalized their plans with a mixture of relief and excitement. They had weathered disagreements and found compromises that honored both of their perspectives. Emily knew that Sarah's involvement had been invaluable, despite the occasional tensions. On the day of the wedding, as Emily stood in her elegant gown, ready to walk down the aisle, Sarah stood by her side, holding her bouquet of understated greenery. They exchanged a knowing smile, their bond as sisters strengthened by the journey they had shared in planning this special day. Emily and Adam's visit to Emily's childhood home had always been a comforting ritual, a chance to reconnect with her roots and the loving support of her family. However, during this particular visit, an unexpected turn of events unfolded, casting a shadow over their usual sense of warmth. Emily's parents, normally a pillar of stability and strength, approached her with a solemnity that immediately caught her attention. Their usually cheerful demeanor was replaced by a palpable unease that set Emily's heart racing. "We need to talk to you both about something important," her father began, his voice unusually grave. Emily exchanged a concerned glance with Adam, who instinctively tightened his grip on her hand. "We've been facing some financial difficulties lately," her mother continued, her voice tinged with worry. "Your father's recent health issues and some unexpected expenses have stretched us thin." Emily's mind raced as she tried to process the implications of her parents' words. Her father had always been the rock of the family, a man who rarely showed vulnerability. To hear that his health and financial burdens were taking a toll struck Emily deeply. "We hate to ask this of you," her father added, his expression pained, "but we were wondering if you could lend us some financial support, just until we get back on our feet." The request hung in the air, heavy with unspoken implications. Emily struggled to find her voice amidst the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. Adam remained silent, his presence a steady source of support beside her. "Of course, Dad," Emily finally managed to say, her voice tinged with concern. "We'll do whatever we can to help." Her parents' relief was palpable, yet Emily couldn't shake the underlying sense of unease that settled in her heart. The realization that her once unshakable family foundation was now vulnerable shook her to the core. As they discussed practicalities and plans for assistance, Emily felt the weight of responsibility settle on her shoulders. She had always seen herself as the child who leaned on her parents for guidance and support. Now roles seemed to have reversed, and the dynamic shifted in ways she had never anticipated. In the days that followed, Emily and Adam worked tirelessly to support her parents financially and emotionally. They reassured them that they were not alone in facing these challenges, even as uncertainty loomed over the future. The experience brought Emily and Adam closer together, reinforcing their commitment to each other and to their families. They navigated the complexities of adulthood with a newfound understanding of the sacrifices and responsibilities that came with it. Together, they faced the harsh realities of financial strain and familial bonds tested by adversity. Through it all, they clung to the hope that their love and resilience would see them through the storm, stronger and more united than before. This chapter in their lives marked a turning point, a testament to the enduring power of love, support, and the unwavering bonds of family. Emily felt a strange tension in the air as she entered her parents' home. The usual warmth seemed replaced with a chill that sent shivers down her spine. Her father, looking frilier than ever, sat quietly in his recliner, while her mother busied herself in the kitchen, avoiding Emily's gaze. "Hey Dad, how are you feeling?" Emily asked, forcing a smile. "Getting by," her father replied, his eyes betraying a hint of sadness. Emily glanced at her mother. "Mom, can we talk for a second?" Her mother hesitated but finally nodded, leading Emily into the living room. "What's going on, Emily?" her mother asked, her voice shaky. Emily took a deep breath. "I know something's up. You've been acting strange and Dad seems off. What's wrong?" Her mother sighed deeply, unable to meet Emily's eyes. It's about the money you gave us for your father's treatment." Emily's heart sank. "What about it?" "Your father and we decided to give some of it to Sarah," her mother admitted, her voice barely a whisper. Emily's eyes widened in shock. "You did what? How could you do that? That money was for Dad's health, not for Sarah." Her mother finally looked up, her eyes filled with guilt. "Sarah needed help too, Emily. She was struggling and we thought." "You thought what?" Emily interrupted, her voice rising. "That it was okay to betray my trust? To take what was meant for Dad and give it to Sarah without even telling me." Her father, hearing the commotion, struggled to his feet and entered the room. "Emily, please calm down," he pleaded. "We did what we thought was best for the family." Emily shook her head, tears streaming down her face. "You thought wrong, Dad. You both did. This isn't just about money. It's about trust and respect, and you broke that." Sarah chose that moment to walk in, her face pale as she took in the scene. "Emily, I had no idea they did that. I never asked for the money." Emily turned to her sister, her anger barely contained. Whether you asked for it or not, they gave it to you. And now, I don't know if I can ever trust any of you again. The room fell into a heavy silence, the weight of betrayal hanging thick in the air. Emily felt a crushing sense of loss, not just for the money, but for the faith she had in her family. In the days following the revelation, Emily's world seemed to collapse around her. The betrayal cut deep, and she found it increasingly difficult to be around her family. She decided she needed space, a way to process her feelings without the constant reminder of their deceit. One evening, after a particularly sleepless night, she made a decision. She dialed her mother's number, her heart pounding with each ring. "Hello," her mother answered, her voice tentative. "Mom, I've thought a lot about what happened," Emily began, her voice steady but filled with pain. "I need some time away from all of this. I need to figure out how to move forward." "Emily, please don't do this," her mother begged. "We're a family. We can get through this together." Emily shook her head, even though her mother couldn't see her. "I don't think you understand, Mom. You broke my trust. I need time to heal, and I can't do that if I'm constantly reminded of what you did." Her mother's sobs filled the silence on the other end of the line, but Emily remained resolute. "I'll come by to get some of my things tomorrow," she said quietly. "I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk again." "Emily, we love you," her mother whispered. But Emily had already hung up, tears streaming down her face. The fallout from Emily's decision to distance herself from her family was swift and brutal. Family gatherings became awkward and tense, with Emily's absence a constant reminder of the fracture that had formed. Her parents were devastated, struggling to come to terms with the consequences of their actions. Sarah, feeling a mix of guilt and sorrow, reached out to Emily multiple times, but each attempt was met with silence or curt replies. She finally decided to visit Emily's apartment, hoping for a chance to make things right. "Emily, please let me in," Sarah pleaded, knocking on the door. "We need to talk." Emily opened the door, her expression cold. "What is there to talk about, Sarah? What's done is done." Sarah stepped inside, her eyes brimming with tears. "I'm so sorry, Emily. If I had known, I would have never accepted the money. I never wanted this to happen." Emily sighed, her anger giving way to exhaustion. "I know you didn't, Sarah. But it did happen, and now I have to deal with it. Can't we find a way to fix this?" Sarah asked, desperation in her voice. "I don't know if it can be fixed," Emily replied softly. "Right now I just need time. Maybe someday we can rebuild what was lost. But for now, I need to focus on myself." Topic 17. Supportive partner. Throughout this turmoil, Emily found unwavering support in Adam. He stood by her side, offering comfort and understanding as she navigated the rocky terrain of her emotions. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Adam took Emily's hand in his. "You've been through so much," he said gently. "I just want you to know that I'm here for you, no matter what." Emily looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. "I don't know what I'd do without you, Adam. You've been my rock through all of this." He smiled, brushing a tear from her cheek. "We're in this together, Em. Whatever you need, whenever you're ready, we'll face it together." His words brought a sense of peace to Emily's heart. She knew the road ahead would be challenging, but with Adam by her side, she felt stronger and more capable of healing. As time passed, Emily began to focus on rebuilding her life. She threw herself into her work, finding solace in her career successes. She also started new hobbies, discovering a love for painting and hiking that brought her joy and relaxation. Adam continued to be her anchor, supporting her through every high and low. They talked about their future, making plans and setting goals that gave Emily hope and something to look forward to. One sunny afternoon, as they sat in a park, Emily turned to Adam, a determined look in her eyes. "I think I'm ready to talk to my family again," she said. "I need to find closure, for myself and for them." Adam squeezed her hand, his smile encouraging. "I'll be right there with you every step of the way." With Adam's support, Emily reached out to her family, arranging a meeting to discuss their issues and hopefully find a path to healing. The journey was far from over, but Emily felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. She knew that with time, patience, and love, she could mend the broken pieces of her relationships and move forward into a brighter future. Imagine a world where family time isn't just a rare occasion but a cherished priority. In our story of Emily and Claire, we witnessed how their lives diverged due to busy schedules and unresolved tensions. This isn't just their story. It's a reflection of many modern families facing similar challenges. Spending quality time together isn't just about being physically present. It's about fostering deeper connections and understanding. When families carve out time for shared activities, whether it's a simple meal together or an outdoor adventure, They create opportunities for meaningful conversations and mutual support. This practice can dissolve barriers of communication and bridge emotional gaps that may have developed over time. Ready to transform your family dynamics? Our ebook, Creating Moments, A Guide to Quality Family Time, offers a comprehensive roadmap to help you prioritize and maximize these moments. Learn practical strategies to navigate busy schedules, foster genuine connections, and build a stronger family foundation. Click the link below to discover how you can start creating lasting memories and meaningful bonds today. By investing in quality family time, you're not just investing in moments, you're investing in relationships that can withstand the test of time. Join us on this journey to reconnect, communicate, and thrive together as a family. Together, let's make every moment count.